I, Thoth, the Atlantean, master of mysteries, keeper of records, mighty king, magician, living from generation to generation, ready to pass into the halls of Amenti, I speak to thee. What if the voice that echoes through the tablets is not a voice from the past, but the distant call of your most ancient self, a memory sealed not in stone, but in silence, and now, finally, you're beginning to hear it. Before understanding anything, you must feel the presence in these words. They were never meant to be read. They were meant to activate. I, Thoth, a phrase that is not just an introduction, but an invocation, a signature of presence, a frequency encoded in words. The emerald tablets do not begin with explanation or instruction. They begin with a being, a consciousness, a frequency anchoring itself in sound. And yet Thoth is not merely a historical figure, not just the Egyptian god of wisdom, or the Atlantean king Magus whispered about in esoteric circles. Thoth is the archetype of divine memory, the part of you that never forgot. This tablet begins as all true awakenings do, with the voice that rises inside when the ego quiets down. It's not outside, it's not other, it's the you who watched. You become you and again, and now it speaks. The words are majestic, master of mysteries, keeper of records, magician, king, but they aren't titles to be admired. They are symbols, mirrors, keys. Each title is a frequency code that mirrors a hidden aspect of your own multidimensional nature. Master of mysteries, the one who lives beyond the veil of appearances. Keeper of records, the one who remembers the truth behind the timelines. Magician, the one who shapes reality from thought, feeling, and intention. King, the one who governs the inner world with sovereignty and clarity. When you hear these titles not as foreign attributes but as dormant potentials within yourself, the tablets begin to respond. Because the tablets don't speak to your intellect. They vibrate into your awareness. They remember you. There's a reason why they read like riddles. This isn't poetic flair, it's protection. Truth, when written plainly, can be diluted or misused. But when encoded in paradox, metaphor, and rhythm, it becomes a filter. Only those who are ready to see will. Each phrase is a gate. Each gate demands more than comprehension. It requires presence. That's why you're not just reading about Thoth. You're meeting him, or rather, the part of you that always has been him. The tablets were never written to be analyzed. They were written to be entered. Try this. Don't just read the verse. Close your eyes. Say it aloud. Feel the frequency. Let the voice become yours, as if it's coming from the center of your being, because that's the point. You are the temple. You are the scribe. You are the flame. And so, when Thoth says, I speak to thee, it is the timeless you speaking to the version of you still trapped in time. It is your future self guiding your present, your soul reminding your mind. This tablet begins not with doctrine but remembrance. Let's make it practical, but vibrational. Each day for the next 7 days, read aloud the first few lines of the tablets, but not as information, as incantation. Before you do, breathe slowly. Feel your feet on the ground. Invite the part of you that remembers to speak. Let these words become an echo from your higher self, not a script. And after reading, sit in silence. Let whatever arises, arise. You are building resonance, not logic. And resonance is the key to these tablets. If these opening words feel like something ancient is stirring inside, you're not imagining it. That's the design. That's the signal. Because these words weren't written for the world. They were written for you the moment your soul chose to awaken. And now that you've heard the voice, the journey can begin. If something moved inside you, it wasn't the words, it was the memory behind them. You might not need to understand the tablets just yet. You only need to stay with them. Let their vibration enter your field. The understanding will come through experience. Many of the children of light lived among men, teaching and raising the sons of men upward. There is a memory older than the stars, stored not in books, but in the silence beneath your heartbeat. It speaks of a time when the earth was a different kind of mirror, clearer, softer, more aligned with the divine rhythm. It speaks of a land called Kem, but Kem is not just a place on an ancient map. Kem is a condition of the soul. It is the moment you fell asleep to your own light and began calling shadows reality. It is the forgetting, necessary, sacred, and terrifying. In the tablets, Thoth speaks of the children of light living among the sons of men, not to dominate, not to convert, but to awaken. These beings were not saviors. They were reminders, seeds of remembrance planted in the field of human forgetfulness. We often look at ancient texts and ask, Is this history? But a better question would be, is this me? What if you were once one of those luminous ones? What if you still are, and simply chose to forget so deeply that the remembering would be a masterpiece? The tablets whisper not about extraterrestrial intervention or historical grandeur, but about vibrational descent, the willingness of light to incarnate into density for the purpose of embodied transformation. You are not here by accident. You fell on purpose, and the purpose is to rise, not through rejection of matter, but by illuminating it from within. Chem, in the metaphysical sense, is any moment we mistake form for truth, when we identify more with thought than presence, when we serve fear disguised as control, when we believe we must earn what we already are. But the children of light, they remember, even in the density. They speak with the tone of presence. They walk slowly. They touch things with reverence. They listen more than they speak. And when they speak, it's as if time bends around their words. Maybe you've met them, or maybe you are one of them, and forgot. That's the hidden message of this verse. These children are not a separate race, but a vibrational lineage. Anyone who remembers their origin in light becomes part of it. And what is raising the sons of men upward, if not the gentle act of helping someone remember their own frequency? You don't raise others by fixing them. You raise them by being so vibrationally true that their own falsehoods dissolve in your presence. This is not spiritual theory. It is the daily alchemy of presence. It's how you breathe when no one is watching. It's how you respond when fear visits. It's the sacred no you speak to things that dim your soul. And so Chem still exists, not as Egypt, but as any moment you forget that you are the light. And just as it exists, so too do the children of light. They are here still, always, and some of them are listening to this now. If your body tingles when you hear these words, take it not as emotion, but as activation. The tablets are not relics of the past. They are technologies of the soul, not to be decoded by intellect but embodied through vibration. And if you feel called to live like a child of light, the path is not outside. It's not a ritual or an initiation in a distant land. It's the soft, steady commitment to let your inner flame remain lit, no matter how dense the world becomes. Because maybe the world doesn't need saving. Maybe it only needs more people willing to remember, and in remembering, become a living frequency of what was once lost. Let the words of Thoth awaken not your mind, but your memory, not your ambition, but your stillness. Chem is the mirror. The child of light is the reflection waiting to be seen. If these words stirred something ancient in you, don't rush to label it. Just stay with it. Stay present, breathe. The remembering has begun. Within thee is the light of all lights, the eternal flame that never dies. Close your eyes for a moment, not to escape but to return. Can you sense it? That soft pulse beneath thought, that golden breath in the silence. It has no name, but it has always been with you. It is not a metaphor, it is not symbolic, it is you, the eternal flame, the undying light, the sacred presence that does not flicker, even when you do. Thoth speaks here not in riddles, but in direct truth. There is a flame within you, not metaphorical, not poetic, real, vibrational. And if you close the door of the mind long enough, you will feel it, not as warmth, but as presence, not as heat, but as clarity. It doesn't seek your belief. It only waits for your stillness. Why has this flame been hidden for so long? Not because it was ever gone, but because we were trained to look outward for power, for guidance, for worth. We were taught to seek the sun, forgetting that we are a son. Every great teacher has said the same, in different languages. The kingdom is within, the temple is within, the light is within. And yet, we kept building things outside of us, trying to summon what was never missing. This verse is the return, not to a concept, but to a sensation. The light within is not something to activate, it activates you, and it does so gently, steadily, lovingly, like the sun rising even when no one notices. In the tablets, Thoth speaks of the children of light living among the sons of men, not to dominate, not to convert, but to awaken. These beings were not saviors, they were reminders, seeds of remembrance planted in the field of human forgetfulness. We often look at ancient texts and ask, is this history? But a better question would be, is this me? What if you were once one of those luminous ones? What if you still are, and simply chose to forget so deeply that the remembering would be a masterpiece? The tablets whisper not about extraterrestrial intervention or historical grandeur, but about vibrational descent, the willingness of light to incarnate into density for the purpose of embodied transformation. You are not here by accident. You fell on purpose, and the purpose is to rise not through rejection of matter, but by illuminating it from within. Chem, in the metaphysical sense, is any moment we mistake form for truth, when we identify more with thought than presence, when we serve fear disguised as control, when we believe we must earn what we already are. But the children of light, they remember. Even in the density, they speak with the tone of presence, they walk slowly, they touch things with reverence. They listen more than they speak, and when they speak, it's as if time bends around their words. Maybe you've met them, or maybe you are one of them, and forgot. That's the hidden message of this verse. These children are not a separate race, but a vibrational lineage. Anyone who remembers their origin in light becomes part of it. And what is raising the sons of men upward if not the gentle act of helping someone remember their own frequency? You don't raise others by fixing them. You raise them by being so vibrationally true that their own falsehoods dissolve in your presence. This is not spiritual theory. It is the daily alchemy of presence. It's how you breathe when no one is watching. It's how you respond when fear visits. It's the sacred no you speak to things that dim your soul. And so Chem still exists, not as Egypt, but as any moment you forget that you are the light. And just as it exists, so too do the children of light. They are here still, always. And some of them are listening to this now. If your body tingles when you hear these words, take it not as emotion, but as activation. The tablets are not relics of the past. They are technologies of the soul, not to be decoded by intellect but embodied through vibration. And if you feel called to live like a child of light, the path is not outside. It's not a ritual or an initiation in a distant land. It's the soft, steady commitment to let your inner flame remain lit, no matter how dense the world becomes. Because maybe the world doesn't need saving. Maybe it only needs more people willing to remember, and in remembering, become a living frequency of what was once lost. Let the words of Thoth awaken not your mind, but your memory, not your ambition, but your stillness. Chem is the mirror. The child of light is the reflection waiting to be seen. If these words stirred something ancient in you, don't rush to label it. Just stay with it, stay present, breathe. The remembering has begun. Within thee is the light of all lights, the eternal flame that never dies. Close your eyes for a moment, not to escape, but to return. Can you sense it? That soft pulse beneath thought, that golden breath in the silence. It has no name, but it has always been with you. It is not a metaphor, it is not symbolic, it is you, the eternal flame, the undying light, the sacred presence that does not flicker, even when you do. Thoth speaks here not in riddles, but in direct truth. There is a flame within you, not metaphorical, not poetic, real, vibrational, and if you close the door of the mind long enough, you will feel it, not as warmth, but as presence, not as heat, but as clarity. It doesn't seek your belief, it only waits for your stillness. Why has this flame been hidden for so long? Not because it was ever gone, but because we were trained to look outward for power, for guidance, for worth. We were taught to seek the sun, forgetting that we are a sun. Every great teacher has said the same, in different languages. The kingdom is within, the temple is within, the light is within, and yet we kept building things outside of us, trying to summon what was never missing. This verse is the return, not to a concept, but to a sensation. The light within is not something to activate. It activates you, and it does so gently, steadily, lovingly, like the sun rising even when no one notices. What does it mean to live with this flame as your guide? It means walking through your life not as someone seeking answers, but as someone who radiates answers without needing to speak. It means letting your energy speak first. It means trusting. That presence is more powerful than persuasion. The eternal flame is not a light you use. It is a light you become. It is beyond effort, beyond grasping, beyond ritual, but it is also profoundly practical. When you remember this flame, you no longer negotiate your truth. You don't explain your boundaries. You don't chase belonging, because you carry the temple inside your chest. And this flame, it knows. It knows when you lie to yourself. It knows when you betray your own rhythm, but it never punishes. It only waits, patiently, until you return to it. In many ways, the spiritual path is not about ascent. It's about descent into the body, into presence, into the flame. The mind will ask, what do I do with this light? But the flame asks nothing. It only illuminates. Practice is not separate from this. Every time you sit in silence, every time you feel instead of fix, every time you honor your knowing over the noise, you stoke the fire. You don't need to understand how. You only need to allow. Let today be a turning point. Not dramatic, not declared, but deeply felt. Let today be the day you stop pretending to be less than luminous. You've done the darkness. You've played small. You've bowed to the gods of fear and approval. And still, The flame waited. This is not the light of motivation. It is the light of memory, a remembrance that hums beneath the personality. When you drop the performance, it rises. When you stop trying to be spiritual, it speaks. You don't have to see it, you only have to trust it's already there, and live accordingly. That is the truest initiation. That is the essence of this verse. If you wish, you can place your hand over your heart, not to make something happen, just to feel, just to be. Let this gesture remind you, the light is not coming. It is here, always. And so, we continue. Ahead lies the shadow that guards the threshold. The part of you that fears this light not because it is evil, but because it was never taught how to receive it. And in meeting that shadow, the journey deepens. Darkness surrounds the light and waits in silence for the moment it moves. There's a stillness that lives just beyond the edges of awareness. It is not peace. Not yet. It is a tension, a holding, a gatekeeper of some kind. You feel it when you're about to change, when you're on the verge of a breakthrough. That quiet resistance, that invisible hand that pulls you back just as you're about to step forward. That is the guardian. Thoth called it the darkness that waits before the light, not to frighten us but to prepare us. Because every step into deeper awareness is met by a reflection of what has yet to be integrated. The guardian is not evil. It is not against you. It is you, the part of you still tethered to fear, the part that remembers the pain of being seen, the wounds of past betrayals, the heaviness of incarnation. It stands at the threshold not to block you, but to ask one question: are you ready to hold more of your own light? We tend to imagine that resistance means we're doing something wrong, but what if it means you're right where you should be? What if the presence of fear is a sign not of weakness, but of expansion? The shadow doesn't appear to stop you. It appears to offer you a choice. You can turn back into comfort, or you can step forward through it. The guardian of the threshold is the embodiment of our unconscious patterns, not just habits of behavior, but habits of identity, the stories we tell ourselves. I'm not enough. I don't belong. I can't trust myself. These are not truths. They are echoes, and the guardian holds them like a mirror, not to shame us, but to invite us into transformation. The tablets tell us that darkness surrounds the light, waiting for it to move. That means shadow isn't separate from awakening. It's part of it. You don't avoid the shadow on your path to light. You pass through it, and when you do, something alchemical happens. The fear doesn't disappear. It dissolves, and, in its place, presence grows. This is why inner work can feel intense just before a breakthrough, because the guardian is active. It whispers doubts. It triggers old reactions. It stirs the dust you thought you'd already swept, but this is not regression. It's refinement. It's the sacred chaos before the new frequency stabilizes. You don't fight the guardian. You feel it. You listen. You soften. And most of all of you stay. That's what changes everything. Your choice to remain present when the fear arises. Your willingness to breathe into the part of you that wants to run. Your compassion toward your own contraction. And slowly, the guardian shifts. It becomes less like a wall and more like a doorway. It starts to feel like a test, not of worth, but of readiness. And readiness in the deepest sense is not about having no fear. It's about not abandoning yourself in its presence. So if you find yourself doubting, hesitating, questioning your own path, that's okay. That's the signal. The shadow is near, but so is the light. They are always close together. They move as one. Let this be your practice now. The next time fear rises, don't numb it, don't override it, don't rush to affirmations or fixes. Just pause, close your eyes. Ask softly, what part of me is afraid to move into more light? And then wait. Not for an answer, but for a softening, a shift. The true power isn't in pushing through, it's in integrating. And every time you do, your field stabilizes. Your light becomes less reactive. Your vibration becomes trustworthy to yourself, to the field, to others. The guardian is not your enemy. It is your invitation. And once you pass through, you don't just reach more light, you become it. And so we continue. Ahead, the frequency splits them into 7 tones, 7 laws, 7 gates, the great harmonies that shape the visible and invisible worlds. Prepare your inner ear. The music of the cosmos is about to begin. 7 are the lords who govern the lower cycles. 7 are the harmonies that open the gates within. Listen closely now, not with your ears, but with the quiet beneath your thoughts. Can you feel the subtle chords vibrating under reality? Not sound as we know it, but pattern, structure, law. The universe is not chaos dressed as order. It is harmony, concealed in mystery, waiting to be remembered. Thoth speaks of 7 lords, not as deities in robes, but as the personified forces behind the architecture of existence. These lords are the intelligences of universal law. They are not beings outside of you. They are you, in your essence. They live in your cells, your emotions, your rhythms. You were born into their music, and you have always been playing along, even if unconsciously. Each of these 7 is a frequency, a principle, a law that sustains not just the cosmos but the inner cosmos of your being. When Thoth names them, he is handing you a key ring to the temple within. There is the Lord of Rhythm, the tide that moves within all things, reminding you that every expansion is followed by contraction, and every descent is prelude to a rise. To ignore this law is to suffer. To move with it is to dance. There is the Lord of Polarity, revealing that all opposites are but extremes of the same thing: love and fear, light and shadow, strength and surrender. To master this law is not to eliminate duality but to integrate it, to see through its illusion and find the thread that connects all things. There is the Lord of Vibration, the hum behind all manifestation. Everything is energy, everything moves. Nothing is static, not even you. The frequency you hold determines the reality you meet. You don't need to force life. You only need to tune yourself. There is the Lord of Cause and Effect, not as punishment but as precision. Every thought, every feeling, every word, every action, a pebble cast into the infinite lake of creation. The ripples always return, not as fate, as feedback, so you can realign. There is the Lord of Mentalism, the great reminder that all is mind, that your consciousness is not inside the universe. The universe is inside your consciousness. You are not a fragment of creation. You are its mirror. There is the Lord of Gender, the dance of masculine and feminine energies in all things, giving and receiving, structure and flow, action and surrender. This is not about physical form. It's about the harmonization of polar forces in your own field. And finally, the Lord of Correspondence, the truth that as above, so below, as within, so without. Nothing is isolated. Every external event is a reflection of inner condition. The world is your echo. Change your frequency, and the song around you changes. When you begin to recognize these lords, not as abstract ideas, but as living realities, you stop fighting life. You begin to participate, consciously, creatively, compassionately. This is the beginning of true freedom. When you realize the laws that shape your life are not obstacles but instruments. You don't break these laws. You resonate with them. You align, not submit. To live in disharmony is to struggle. To live in resonance is to flow. It is that simple and that profound. So how do you begin? Start by observing. Which law are you resisting right now? Which pattern keeps repeating in your life? Which cycle are you trying to escape instead of complete? Awareness is the first tone. Once you hear the dissonance, you can begin to tune. And you tune not by control, but by frequency, by remembering that your energy field is an instrument. Every breath, every pause, every decision, every silence, part of a larger song. Let your life become that song, not a performance, but a vibration, not a chase, but a harmony. Because once you align with these 7, the gates open, inner gates, the ones that lead not out of the world, but deeper into it. Gates that reveal your role not as passenger, but as participant in the great unfolding. The lords do not command, they invite. And now they are inviting you to remember the ancient music within you. As we move forward, we begin to dissolve one of the greatest illusions of all, time. That seductive mirage that has kept you running toward what already lives inside you. Prepare yourself. Time is an illusion, a movement of consciousness. It exists not but in the mind of man. Pause now. Feel your breath, not to slow down, but to step out of the ticking, the chasing, the forward motion hypnosis we call time. Can you sense it? That thin film of thought that wraps itself around every moment and calls it past, present, future. What if that film were lifted? What remains? The tablets do not merely describe time as flexible, they dissolve it. They reveal it for what it is, a function of perception, not a fixed container. Time does not move. You do. And as you move, you carve a path through potential, not in straight lines, but in spirals, in fractals, in vibrational choices. This truth is not new. It is ancient, encoded in the architecture of pyramids, in the silence between heartbeats, in the stillness of the stars. But the mind, the linear mind, cannot fathom it, because the mind was designed for survival, not eternity. When Thoth says time is but a movement of consciousness, he's offering freedom, not from the hours or the days, but from identification, from the small self that believes it is late, or early, or running out of something it never owned. There is no late in eternity. There is no early in infinity. There is only alignment or resistance, presence or projection. When you are fully here, time ceases to bind you. It softens, bends, waits. This is not metaphor. It is vibration. Think back to a moment you were completely immersed in beauty, in love, in silence. Time disappeared because presence stretched. You entered the now, not as a point, but as a field, a temple, a living intelligence. What would life feel like if you stopped worshiping the clock and started listening to your own rhythm? What decisions would you make? What pressures would dissolve? This doesn't mean abandoning schedules. It means realizing they are tools, not truths. It means living from the inside out, choosing action from alignment, not urgency. Time as we know it is a collective agreement, a shared lens. But the soul doesn't age in minutes, it expands in awareness. The true measure of your life is not how many years you've lived, but how fully you've occupied the eternal in each breath. And this is the secret. When you step out of time, manifestation accelerates, because time is not required for change, only permission. And permission is instant. There is no delay between vibration and creation in the quantum field. Delay exists only in the mind's resistance, in the layers of disbelief. But when you become the frequency of what you desire, now, time collapses, and reality adjusts. So how do you live this? Begin by noticing the ways you speak about time. I don't have time. It's too late. Maybe someday. These are spells. Spoken loops. Rewrite them. Say, I am aligned now. I move in divine rhythm. The eternal lives in me. Then, watch. Watch how time begins to soften around you. How urgency becomes spaciousness. How things begin to happen not when you force them, but when you become them. And let that be your new rhythm. Becoming, not chasing, not waiting. You are not inside time. Time is inside you. And when you realize this, you stop running, you start vibrating, and the world, bound by your frequency, begins to bend. So we leave the illusion now, not by rejecting it, but by seeing through it. And what lies on the other side is not emptiness, it is space, the pure potential that gives form to all things. Let us enter it together. Let us listen not to its silence but to its invitation. In the heart of space dwells the infinite consciousness, shaping matter according to its will. Now breathe in, not just air, but space. Feel the emptiness around you, the silence between your fingers, the invisible substance between your skin and the walls. What is this space truly? Is it absence, or is it presence too subtle for the eyes? Thoth invites us into a truth more radical than it seems, that space is not empty. Space is alive, a living, breathing intelligence. And not just alive, it is conscious. It listens, it responds, it shapes, it creates. Every spiritual tradition has pointed to this: the Tao, the ether, Akasha, the void, but none of them meant nothingness. They meant source, not origin in time, but origin in vibration, the womb of all that is. And so when the tablets speak of consciousness dwelling in space, they are reminding you, your thoughts do not float in dead air. Your intentions do not echo into voids. You are speaking constantly into a field that hears you and shapes reality in response. This field does not operate like a machine. It responds not to your words, but to your vibration, your truth, your inner coherence. You can say 1,000 affirmations, but if your frequency is scattered, the field mirrors that. And when you speak one silent word from presence, the field rearranges instantly. So how do you connect with it? Not by trying, not by forcing, by becoming still enough to feel it. The space around you is not waiting to be filled. It is waiting to be noticed. And when you notice it, with reverence, something opens. Your room becomes sacred. Your body becomes a transmitter. Your breath becomes a brush, painting the canvas of form with invisible strokes of intent. This is not fantasy. Quantum physics has touched it. Non-locality, the observer effect, fields of potentiality. But Thoth knew long before, not from science but from presence. Matter is shaped by consciousness, not just in theory, but here, now, every day. You've seen it. The way your energy changes a room before you speak, the way nature calms when you're centered, the way people respond not to what you say but to what you radiate. This is not magic, it is law. Space does not need to be filled with effort. It wants to be honored. You can test this right now. Become still. Feel the space between you and the objects around you. Let your awareness stretch into it, like light. Then, gently, imagine a feeling, not a thought, a frequency, peace, love, trust. Let it ripple from your center into the room. And wait, don't do anything. Just witness. You'll feel it. The shift, subtle, but undeniable. The field is responding, not because you commanded it, but because you became something coherent. This is the essence of manifestation. Not asking, but resonating. Not wanting, but being. The field doesn't grant wishes, it reflects states. So when you move through the world with tension, fear, or desperation, it reflects that, not as punishment, as mirror. And when you move with quiet clarity, with inner alignment, it opens. This is the heart of space, not void but vessel, not empty but ready. And this space, it is not just around you, it is in you, between your cells, inside your breath, beneath your thoughts. You are made of it. You are not walking through the field. You are the field folded into form, remembering itself. Let that truth settle now. Let it move from concept to sensation. The world is not happening to you. It is co-arising with you. Every moment, every encounter, every silence, shaped by the frequency you hold. So hold it with care, with joy, with reverence. And as we move forward, we arrive at a teaching that asks more than understanding. It asks transformation. Because the next verse is not about reality, it's about you, about the shape you've been holding and the possibility of becoming something entirely new. Transform thyself from the form thou hast into another, and so thou shalt become greater than all limitations. Let these words fall into you like soft rain, not to soak, but to awaken. There is something ancient within you that remembers how to shed skins. You have done it before, many times. The body may not recall, but the essence does. The tablets do not speak of metaphor here. They speak of metamorphosis, real, vibrational, cellular transformation. Not as magic, as natural law. To transform is not to abandon who you are. It is to stop defending what you no longer are. The form you've held, your beliefs, your stories, your reactions, your names, they served, but now they constrict. Like the cocoon that must dissolve for the wings to emerge, Thoth doesn't say, try. He says, transform, not through struggle, but through frequency. Because true change is not about adding, it is about shedding. You become greater, not by striving, but by releasing what is no longer aligned. Can you feel what wants to be released? That subtle pressure inside, like wearing clothes too tight for the soul. It shows up as fatigue, as restlessness, as inner friction. It's not the world pressing on you, it's the outdated self, asking to be let go. Transformation begins in silence, in presence, in the decision to stop rehearsing the identity that no longer feels like truth. You don't have to know who you're becoming. You only need to stop pretending you're not already shifting. The field responds to who you are being now, not to who you plan to be. So the question is not, how do I change? But am I willing to stop holding the pattern in place? Because patterns don't persist by themselves. They persist through your attention, your repetition, your attachment. This is not judgment, it's liberation. When you realize you are the one choosing, even unconsciously, you reclaim the key. So what does it look like to transform? Form? It might look like not responding the way you always do. Saying no, softly but clearly, where you once said yes to please. Listening to your breath instead of your fear. Choosing stillness where the mind screams for action. These are not small things. These are the codes of transfiguration. Each time you act from a new vibration, you are reshaping your field. You are telling the universe, I am not that anymore. I am becoming this. And the universe, meaning which is not distant but intimate, responds, not because you forced it, because you aligned. The tablets say, become greater than all limitations, not by dominating, by dissolving. Limitation is a frequency. It cannot live where presence expands. It cannot hold when the self is fluid. The rigid identity contracts. The evolving self radiates. You are not here to improve yourself. You are here to remember your fluidity, to shed what was once needed and step into what is now true. That is transformation. That is alchemy. You don't need a ceremony. You don't need permission. You need honesty. The kind that moves in your bones. The kind that whispers, this no longer fits, and the courage to listen. Stand in front of a mirror today, not to critique, but to witness. See not the surface, but the shimmer beneath. Ask not what should change, but what is already changing that you have yet to honor. You are not a fixed point. You are a portal, so let it shift. Let the old dissolve. Let the new emerge without needing to define it. Become atmosphere. Become movement. Become vibration. And as you do, as you release the form, something magnificent awakens. The truth that the light within you was never trapped, only waiting for more space to shine. And so, we continue. Because once form becomes fluid, the light is no longer separate. It unifies. It flows. It returns to the one. Light there is, O man, though seeming divided, yet in essence, it is always one. Close your eyes just for a moment. Picture sunlight filtering through a prism, scattering into color, red, blue, violet, gold. Each ray appears separate, dancing its own path across the wall, but if you follow them back, you will find only one source, one sun, one origin. That is the illusion we have been living, mistaking the rays for different truths, when in truth, they are one. This verse from Thoth is a quiet thunder. It undoes the very premise of separation. It doesn't ask us to believe in unity, it reveals it. The light, even when refracted, even when fragmented through trauma, belief, or story, has never ceased to be whole, and that includes you. You are not broken into pieces. You are light appearing as form, temporarily experiencing contrast, so you could eventually remember the whole. This is why comparison hurts so much, because it is a lie. It is the mind trying to assign value to rays, forgetting that every frequency is part of the same origin. Your gifts are not lesser or greater, they are different angles of the same radiance. And this also explains judgment. We judge what we think is other, but if the essence is one, then to judge another is to judge yourself in disguise. To withhold love from someone else is to create a fracture in your own field. Oneness is not an idea to meditate on. It is a vibration to embody. You felt it before, in those moments where the boundary between me and everything dissolved. Perhaps in nature, or music, or love. In those moments, the illusion falls away, and you remember. Remembering doesn't mean you disappear. It means yourself expands beyond identity. You stop being a drop and start feeling the ocean moving through you. Thoth's words are not philosophical. They are technological. He's showing you how reality works. When you recognize the one in all things, you shift your frequency into alignment with the field. And in that alignment, resistance dissolves, flow returns, synchronicity becomes the norm. You become like light that knows it is light, no longer searching for a source because you are it. This changes everything. It changes how you speak, because your words no longer come from ego, but from coherence. It changes how you relate, because you no longer seek completion in another, but reflect it. It changes how you suffer, because pain becomes not punishment, but a pointer, a call to return to unity. So how do we live this? Begin by seeing the one in the many, in the stranger's eyes, in the inconvenience, in your own reflection. When you don't like what you see, ask, what part of the one is this? Not to bypass, but to reconnect, then take it deeper. Feel into the space between your thoughts, not just as absence but as shared being. Let that silence become your teacher. Let it teach you how to see beyond form. And when judgment arises, toward others, toward yourself, meet it not with shame, but with curiosity. What forgotten piece of light is trying to return home? This is how we heal the illusion of separation, not by rejecting it, but by seeing through it. And slowly, surely, the world begins to reflect the shift. You may still see division, but you will no longer believe in it. And that shift in perception is the gateway to grace. So we continue now into the realm where this truth is not only known, but heard, not in words, in vibration, in resonance, in the primordial sound behind all creation. Hear, O man, the voice of the silence. Hear the sound that is not a sound. Now, be still, still enough to feel the hum behind your heartbeat, still enough to sense the quiet that holds everything together. That silence, it isn't empty. It is full of codes, of memory, of music, too vast for the ears to hear. Thoth isn't being poetic here. He's pointing to the most sacred of all technologies. The sound that forms reality yet cannot be detected by the senses, only felt by presence. This is the primordial frequency, the unstruck chord, the Om before form. It lives not above us, but through us. And when you attune to it, you begin to remember that you were spoken into being. Not born, sounded. All matter arises from frequency. That's no longer mysticism, it's quantum truth. At the foundation of everything is vibration. And before vibration is stillness. The stillness Thoth calls the voice of the silence. This voice does not speak in words, it speaks in waves, in pulses of knowing. It is the language behind language, the tone behind tone, and it's always there, waiting, beneath the chatter of the mind, the tension of the body, the loops of the past. To hear it, you don't need to go anywhere, you need to sink. Beneath thoughts, beneath identity, beneath needing to understand. This sound is not heard, it is remembered. And what happens when you remember it? You begin to vibrate with coherence. You stop moving in opposition to life. You stop trying to create with effort. Instead, you begin to create with tone. You enter a room, and without a word, something shifts. Your field begins to tune space. People calm in your presence. Ideas arrive without struggle because you're no longer generating energy from the ego. You're becoming a conduit of the original sound. This is how ancient mystics moved. Mountains with mantras, how temples sang with no singers. They weren't commanding reality, they were resonating with it. And reality, which is always listening, responded. You don't need secret syllables, you need sincerity. You don't need complex chants, you need presence. Try this. Find a space of silence. Let the breath settle. Then gently begin to hum. A single soft tone. Not to perform, not to entertain, to feel. Let the sound emerge from your belly. Let it vibrate through your chest. Let it reach your skull. Then fall back into silence and listen. Do this not as practice, but as remembering. Your body is an instrument. The tone that created worlds is waiting to move through you again. And when you begin to live this way, not speaking but sounding, not thinking but vibrating, you'll notice something else. Life gets quieter, not dull, sacred. The noise recedes, synchronicities increase, intuition strengthens, because you are no longer broadcasting static. You're tuning into the original signal. This is the sound that is not a sound, the voice that speaks through stillness, the invitation to stop filling space and start feeling it. The field is alive, the silence is pregnant, and your vibration is the bridge. Free yourself from the bonds of the flesh and lift your light to the heights. Close your eyes, not to turn away, but to turn inward. Feel your body, not as weight, but as temple, not as boundary, but as bridge. The words of Thoth speak of rising, of lifting the inner flame, of releasing identification with the body, but not in rejection, in reverence. This is not about abandoning the physical, it is about liberating the light within it. You are not the body, but you are not separate from it either. The body is not your cage, it is your vessel. It is the sacred chamber where density meets divinity. And when Thoth says, free yourself from the bonds, he speaks not of death, but of vibrational release, the shedding of heaviness, of illusion, of forgetting. To lift your light means to reorient your identity, to no longer see yourself as a personality navigating a world, but as a frequency, a field of consciousness, radiating through form. You've tasted this before, in those moments when you felt light expanded, limitless, when time fell away and the body became soft, luminous, almost transparent. That is not fantasy, that is your natural state, glimpsed through the cracks in the ego. Ascension is not a future event. It is a present allowing. It is the gradual stabilization of light in form. It is the process of becoming fully present, fully embodied, while no longer forgetting who you are beyond form. It happens in layers, in moments, in breath. It happens when you choose stillness instead of reactivity, when you let love rise before defense, when you align your actions with the deeper truth pulsing beneath thought. Every time you do, your light lifts, and as it lifts, it reveals more density to transmute, more shadow to embrace, more presence to embody. It's not linear, it's spiral. You rise, you return, you descend, only to rise again, but clearer, finer, more rooted in the essence. So what are the bonds to be released? They are not your bones, nor your skin, nor your heartbeat. They are the false identities that keep your light compressed. They are the stories that say, this is just how I am. The loyalties to pain, the habits of self-abandonment, the resistance to joy. To release them is not to wage war, it is to exhale, to let go of what you thought protected you, and trust that light needs no armor. And the ascent? It is not vertical, it is inward. You are not climbing to another world. You are opening to what already lives within. The higher realms are not elsewhere. They are here, vibrating at subtler frequencies, accessible the moment. You become still enough, soft enough, spacious enough to meet them. This is the real alchemy, not changing who you are, but unveiling it, letting the soul rise to the surface, letting the flesh remember its origin in stardust. Let this be your practice. Each morning before movement, before speaking, close your eyes, place your hand on your chest, breathe, and whisper, lift my light, not as plea but as intention, as remembering, as invitation. Feel your spine as a pillar of radiance, your breath as golden thread, your body as conduit. This is how you rise, not by leaving, but by illuminating. And as you rise, you bring others with you, not through words, through resonance. Your frequency becomes invitation. Your stillness becomes activation. Your life becomes the path. This is the way of Thoth, not escape. Embodiment, the divine made tangible, the sacred made visible through your eyes, your hands, your voice. And now, as we near the end of the journey, we return to the origin, not the beginning of time, but the source of truth. The tablet speaks its final message, not to teach, but to seal, to imprint what has been remembered. The legacy is not in the stone, it is in you, and you are ready to receive it. Keep my words and guard them in your heart, for in them lies the path to eternity. Let the sound of that settle, not in your ears, but in your being. There is a stillness at the end of transmission, not silence, but presence, a quiet that does not ask questions, because it already knows. This is not the closing of a book, it is the opening of a portal. Thoth's final message is not an instruction, it is a transference. He is not giving you more to learn. He is sealing something within you, something that was always there waiting for the right vibration to awaken. You may be wondering, what are these words truly? Are they codes? Are they metaphors? Are they echoes from another world? And the answer is yes and no, because these words, like all sacred texts, are alive. They do not simply inform, they transform. They do not end when you stop listening. They echo, they move through your thoughts. They ripple through your choices. They dissolve the layers of forgetfulness with every return. To keep these words in your heart is not about memorization, it is about integration. Letting them shape how you move, how you see, how you love, how you create. You don't need to understand every line, you only need to walk with them, return to them. Let them recalibrate you when the world pulls you back into forgetting, because that is what they are for. These tablets, they are not a relic, they are a frequency anchor, and now you carry that frequency. You don't have to quote it, you don't even have to speak it. When it's alive in you, it speaks through you. This is the path to eternity, not a place, a state, a way of being where you no longer move from survival, or need, or fear, but from alignment, from essence, from soul memory that no longer needs to prove itself. You are not being asked to become anything. You are being reminded of what you already are, beneath the timelines, beneath the doubt, beneath the roles you thought you had to play. You are the tablet now. You are the stone that remembers. You are the flame that endures. You are the silence that speaks. Let these final moments settle into you like light into water. You do not need to hold on. Just be still enough to feel. What has taken root? Some part of you has heard these words before. Some part of you has waited lifetimes to hear them again, and now you have. If something deep within you stirred, if the words felt familiar, if the silence felt full, it's because this wisdom was never foreign to you. It was yours, left behind in time, and now reclaimed. So carry it gently, speak less, listen more, not to others, but to the quiet within. Let life reveal what parts of you are ready to embody what you've received, and when in doubt, return to the words, to the breath, to the field of light that never left you. This isn't an ending, it is a beginning, a re-entry into the world with new eyes, a new spine, a new sound humming through your presence. Let the tablets be your mirror. Let the light be your compass. Let the silence be your teacher. And above all, walk as one who remembers, because now you do. If these frequencies echoed something ancient within you, it may be time to integrate them not just in mind but in energy. You are invited to explore our reprogramming journeys where the teachings become breath, rhythm, and embodiment. You are the emerald tablet, and the world is ready to read you.